everybody, and welcome again to another Tuesday, another certified unscripted. Well, it's dark in here. Let me turn on the light. Let there be light. First and foremost, because I know I'm going to forget, I am coming off an amazing week. It is really cool when you raise kids and they work hard and they even work overtime so that they can take their mommy out for a very expensive meal. That is how I spent my Mother's Day. So I did not want to start the show without giving a shout out to my one and only son. I only birthed one, but that was enough. I'm still tired. Still got the mommy gut. But I filled that mommy gut up. So Andrew, I love you. Thank you so much for a wonderful Mother's Day. And for all of the moms that are out there, happy belated Mother's Day to each of you. Well, every Tuesday, this is how we do it. This is where we do it. This is certified unscripted. We bring you those real legends with raw opinions and some relatable discussions and some mind-blowing guests, including last week, of course, we had Dawn Staley, and that was just absolutely phenomenal. And we're excited to tease you with yet another special guest tonight. So hold your horses just a moment. And I'll get to that. We've got to catch up on a lot of stuff that has happened this week. WNBA in full flow. And here to talk about it, as always, is the WNBA legendary GM, Penny Toller. How are you today, Penny? Hair in place. How's it going?
Look at me laugh. Hey, Vera, you know, you're one of the first on my list to say Happy Mother's Day. So I'm glad your son took you out and did it.
Man, I was like, how did he afford this? And he was like, well, I had to work overtime. I was like, I felt bad about it, but I kept eating. We went to one of those Brazilian steakhouses. I wore, you know how they walk around with the little meat and shake it up. I wore that out. Are you kidding? I was like, nah, bring back. What is that, lamb chop? Bring it back. I had a ball. So just had to get that out there. Sometimes we fail to remember that even though we love basketball and basketball is life is still life, right? And we've got kids and parents and all kinds of stuff that we got to give some love to. So I had to do that tonight. How about you? How'd you spend your day?
I'm trying to think what I did. I think I was at the beach with some friends. You know, I'm here in sunny California. It was a little cold, a little chilly.
I got you.
Another friend I think Saturday we spent it by the pool, and then Sunday I visited some other friends, and we were at the beach. So it was a little chilly. But you know, it's California for all the people on the East Coast. They're probably like, Penny, get the violin out. It ain't cold out there. You know,
nobody's feeling for you.
Say. And then, you know, I checked out the games. The NBA, the WNBA started, like you said. They had a lot of great games.
What caught your eye?
I watched the Sparks game. You know, the Sparks are gonna be tough this year. You know, they should be in the running this year. Who did I watch them play? I think they played the game I watched them play was Candace, opened up the ring ceremony. Chicago, that was a good one for television because it looked like Chicago had it, and then they sent the game in overtime. LA won that game, and then, you know, of course, I got to check out the point guard, and that's Chelsea Gray with Vegas. I wanted to see how Becky. I wanted to see how Becky would do. Vegas is going to be an exciting team. Obviously, they lost Liz. I think Hamby is more than capable and ready. They still missing a little height in the middle. But I think they're probably gonna be like Denver back in the day. You know how they just outscore people because Baker got them playing really, really good ball. And then there's a big game today with two undefeated teams. It's early, but Washington's 2-0, Vegas is 2-0. The Aces are visiting the Mystics. Let's hope Elena Deladon's playing. She played the first game.
Right.
I think she had 22 points. The second game against the Minnesota Lynx, I watched Cheryl team play. I think they may struggle a little bit until they get their feet to Calio back. But I tell you what, Shakira, the rookie, she came off 4 points the first game. And I already told you I like the swag when she's going to get her jersey in there and announce her name. So she did a double-double with 13 points in 10 minutes. And that goes to show you that if she get playing time, the more playing time she get, I think she's going to get better and better and better.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ryan Howard, like I told people out there, hey, if I'm a rookie, I want to go to Atlanta or I want to go to Indiana. Why? Because I'm going to play. Okay? And Ryan Howard, she balled. You know, Atlanta played one game. They 1-0. Hopefully they can win some more. I want to give a big shout out. I love the celebration. I saw it on Twitter where her players dumped water on Tanisha Wright. You know, so she got so that was a great one. She got her first win ever in the WNBA, and let's hope she can get some more. You know, so it was a great first week. It was great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I buried all of everything I had. The only thing that even looked like an athlete was me and how I was eating because I killed it. I had a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Let's bring in, by the way, those of you that are joining us for the first time, first of all, thank you to all of our fans joining us on several platforms on Facebook as well as YouTube. Thank you so much for catching us live every week. Please continue to tell a friend as obviously we're growing. But for those of you who are new, because I do realize we do have people every week, they're going, who's Penny? What do you mean, who's Penny? That's Penny Toller, general manager of the Los Angeles Sparks for over 23 years with the organization in total as a player, coach, and GM. Keep it simple, all in one place. All right. Yeah, and of course, she's our resident genius here on staff. But the mind behind it all goes to Rita Haywood, who is our executive producer of Certified Unscripted. What caught your eye this week, Rita?
The fact that it was Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Vera. Happy belated Mother's Day. And happy Mother's Day to you as well, Penny, because even though they're not your kids, you've had a ton of kids that you had to be.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think as far as the games that went on, I'm right along with Penny. I think LA is really going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're amped and they're out to prove something as far as, they have the chemistry. They know what the goal is, and they're going to just put everything behind them and play to win. So I'm looking at LA as really being that West Coast team to really put it on the Las Vegas Aces. It's going to be a nice battle, though. Seattle might get in there. Seattle might get in there as well. But I think, that real battle is going to be, having Becky as the new coach of the Aces and, just trying to prove a point. She's coming right out the gate, trying to establish herself. So I think that's going to be a great deal for everybody. It's going to be exciting. It's definitely going to be exciting. So
what I noticed in the league?
What's that?
And I know a lot of people. It was weird because I was watching the TV, and it goes to show you that guards are supreme. All the WNBA teams in the league, besides two, and maybe Mike Talbot, maybe he did play, and if he played, he probably was a guard. They got 10 teams that are coached by guards. The only ones that are not coached by guard, and that's including Derek Fisher and James Wade, Tanisha Wright, Becky Hammond, Sandy Brondello, Noelle Quinn. I wrote them all down. Marianne Freeman, Kurt. I mean, all of them were all guards. It's all guards. And Vanessa was a forward. And if Mike Talbot played, maybe he was the guard. But it's weird how it's all guards coaching the WNBA teams.
But you know what that says though, because point guards are supposed to be cerebral. They're supposed to see everything. They're supposed to see things before they even happen. They have to be the leader. So it just carries over, I think, when it comes down to being a coach. They have the same mentality because they see everything differently than, say, a forward or a center. Not that they don't see.
You might get killed. I
think true point guards make a team. If you don't have a point guard, I don't care how good your post players are. What you gonna do?
They can't get the ball. How are you gonna get the ball?
Exactly. You gotta have a smart point guard.
Well, let me see if I can get somebody else to weigh in on this. This is a perfect segue because tonight's guest boasts an accomplished record with the success at every level of women's basketball. While at the helm, her LSU Lady Tigers were 105-19. They advanced to 3 Final Fours, claimed 2 SEC titles. She was assistant coach of Club Spartak Moscow, which won the next 3 championships. In 2010, as head coach, she led the team to a 16-0 EuroLeague record and their 4th straight EuroLeague championship. By October of 2010, she was named the general manager and head coach of the WNBA's Chicago Sky. While there, she helped the organization reach the playoffs for the first time in club history, which led to a 4-year playoff run. In 2014, they made it to the WNBA Finals. Following her tenure in Chicago, she became the general manager and head coach of the Indiana Fever. And now I'm pretty sure she's got point guard capabilities. She is an assistant at the Seattle Storm. Please welcome to the show, Pokey Chapman.
Listen, look, that's a pretty damn good introduction.
You couldn't have yourself. You couldn't have, right?
But listen, 3 things. Okay, you bring me on after Dawn Staley. Really? That's how you manage everything? Okay. And then Penny over here talking about the point guard who just kicked our butts 2 days ago, right?
Oh, but that was a great game, though. That was a great game.
No. Number 3, Rita got the Sparksman in the West. My time is done with. No, just kidding.
That was Rita, because I was about to chime in and say, "Hey, Seattle."
I did say Seattle. I said Seattle.
I love the excitement. You know, someone said, text me and said that didn't look like an opening weekend game. They said it felt like it had playoff vibes. So to me, that's a compliment to the players who they come in here at the last minute, learning each other and they're playing. So maybe that's a segue into some more exciting games for the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Pokey.
Yes.
Take us back. When did your love affair with basketball begin?
Oh my goodness, long time ago. I'm gonna be 53 next month. So you know, when you're in the neighborhood, there's always a basketball, not the best basket, but you just always find a way to hoop, you know, whether it's inside or outside. And I think it was one of the sports that was always organized. And you know, I'm really gonna tell my age now because there wasn't a girls team back then. So I'm teetering on that Title IX time. And then from that point on, it was just something to do. And, you know, like if you're a guard and you can dribble when you're 7 or 8, you're really good, right? And then from that point on, it just kind of became the fun thing to do. It was competitive. It helped with everything else. And then no one really tells you at that age that this little ball can take you around the world, right? They're just trying to get you off the streets. They're trying to get you. And look, let me clarify that. My streets got 2,000 people in it, so it's not that type of party. But they want you engaged in something, right? So, and then from that point on, it just goes from AAU to high school, college. And if someone would have told me that, hey, we're going to pay you to coach this game, I wouldn't have believed it, you know, because when I first started coaching, they said, you need to get a real job. And it's funny now, you know, now we're talking about getting $1 million, right? So just the growth of things. And I'm just happy to be a part of it. And now full circle, I'm in Seattle and I'm assisting Noelle Quinn, who I coached in Russia. I had a great career in the WNBA, played for Penny and won down there, and then also Sue. So I'm a happy coach right now.
Yeah. Can you even, well, first of all, let's get you into the segue question. Do point guards make the best coaches?
Wow, the best coaches. Of course, I want to say yes. Sometimes they're not as patient, of course. But I get what you guys are saying. It's like it's broad and there's the depth. You know, they can see what's next and they know what's needed 2 or 3 steps ahead. So I think that becomes helpful in ways that don't really show on the court. But I think they can make a pretty good coach just because they're able to adjust to things better than most because they have to handle so much heat from everyone else. So I think they're a step ahead of most. In that regard.
And I want to say out there that everybody, all y'all forwards and center, that was Rita who said that. Because I do believe
that's all right. I'll take that blow.
Because unfortunately, the greatest point guard of all didn't have a very good coaching record. And that's Magic Johnson, you know.
But look,
I just thought it was.
You were a point guard. I'm paying you.
No, I was a combo guard. I put myself in both categories. You know, But I just thought it was just interesting that I was like, wow, everybody's a guard that's coaching in the W now.
No, that's good. Someone like you would notice that. Speaking of which, when you start talking about guards and you start looking at all of the players, particularly some of the young players that came in, who's kind of on your mind? Pokey, I mean, in the league, is there anyone in particular that you think is just going to have a breakout season? Anything that caught your eye about the draft?
We're talking about the babies now. Talking about the babies, because I want everyone on my squad to have a breakout season. Let me be clear about
there
that.
You go.
So, but the table that Penny kind of alluded to opportunity. You know, and she talked about franchises that had minutes to to take up. So I think that's great for some of those younger players, and it's just a matter of it being sustainable because it's also extremely hard for them to adjust. And there's that period of time, a couple of years, where they just got to stick with it, because everything is at a higher level pace. Things are coming at you, and if they can get through that, I think Howard's in a good place with being the centerpiece. Tanisha's, and I haven't even got to coach Tanisha, but I feel like I know her and love her because everyone speaks so highly of her and how she approaches the game. And actually, one young lady that used to coach with me is one of her assistants. She's like, I love T. She's really good. So I think the environment is also something, and the system, because they can have the talent, but if it's a system that, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like it's not about, it's just sometimes they struggle with a different system coming from college. So I think those, and some things you can't change. It's like, Penny mentioned Austin, like she's a beast in her head, and she's going to be a beast on the court once she learns the nuances of the game. And beast to me is different than others. That doesn't necessarily mean MVP. It means being able to step into a moment this early in the season and impact the game. So that's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, because Shakira Austin, I tell you, with Elena Deladon out the other day, she came in with that same swag, like I said earlier when we were off the air, that same swag that she went to get her drafted jersey. She came in and balled out, and I think her future is really, really bright, and that's on a good team. It's going to be interesting, that Rookie of the Year race. It's going to be very, very interesting.
No,
we had some discussion about how packed, how talented the league is, and how it's just overflowing, and people literally gasping for air over the cuts that took place with post draft, obviously post training camp. How do you feel about Kathy Engelbert's comments in the Seattle Times? She referenced 2 more teams about to be added very soon. Any truth to that rumor? I know, Penny, you keep your ear to the ground, and of course you're out there in Seattle. Any thoughts on that, Pokey?
Very soon is relative. I will say this, and I had this conversation with somebody this morning and last night. It's important that the business model is set. We get excited and we have all this momentum and we want these things. And this is not about Kathy. It's just about America and capitalism and how things need to be. I just don't know when very soon is, when that's going to be. If you think about it, it's like, if you're involved in the league, of course you want us to be on TV all the time. Well, damn it, who's making the TV decisions? That's where we need to start. Sometimes it's some misdirected anger and frustration because we all want the same thing. But I don't know. I think I saw that same article. Somebody sent me a snapshot of it. It said like in a few years, I think is what she referenced. So, I mean, that's doable. I love it. We've been talking about it for a while. I know there's a financial group in the Bay Area. I think they say we're trying to get some people. Elena Beard is a part of it. But I don't have any inside scoop on that, but I welcome it. I really do.
Yeah, as do a whole lot of players. Someone wants to go back a little bit.
And I wanted to say something on that, Bear. Yeah, and it's going to be nice when the league does expand. Hopefully they can expand. I'm talking next year or the year after, because as you see, there are a lot of great players that are getting cut. I think right now, if you go back in the past, Pokey, we were around when there were 16 teams, and they were trying to get 16 teams, and then it went back to 12. I think the league can handle it now with 16 teams, but like you said, having the right model. I do believe it's a team. Well, obviously, I know it's one. It's Elena Beard leading that one, but let's not forget that the Golden State Warriors are also in the mix, because they wanted a team. When the Sparks had that little blimp, they wanted a basketball team. I know they still do. And then I'm gonna go out on the limb now. Toronto, I wouldn't want to be there, just like I wouldn't want to be in LA and New York when it came to the taxes. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you, hey, Philly's not too far behind. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell you no names on that one.
I feel you on Philly.
I think Philly would be great. The main thing is that it's done in a way where it's not just going to be there and then disappear in a year's time. The financials, everything, the business model has to be correct for it to expand. So, but I think Philly would be a great market.
Yeah, those are my 2 choices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been hearing Toronto and Philly surfacing a little bit. Always the Bay Area, so it's nice to hear those two other cities in the mix as well.
Mm.
There's somebody that either has been stalking your web pages about you or knows you personally, but this one asked about your sister. 3 jobs that your sister took on. Did you have a sister that took on a role in your household? Share.
Yeah, yeah. My sister, that's my girl. My mother worked 3 jobs, so we all had to chip in, and I had to find a ride home for my mom at work, and I cut grass, get some dollars to give people gas money to get her home. She worked at the
Wow.
post office in the morning, casing mail. She worked at the courthouse in the afternoon. Then she worked at a sporting goods store. So a lot of stuff fell on my sister, right? I mean, and she's only 4 years older than me, so
Mhm.
it's not really cool having to take care of your little sister when you're at that age when you want to do things. But fast forward, yeah, she's kind of my everything. That's my girl. Don't make me get all emotional. I'm trying to be a tough coach here, but she just took
Right.
on those things like still in my life. Like she takes care of businesses that I've had, foundation, some property that I own. And people say, God, you're so lucky that you have a sister that does all that. And I was like, yeah, and she also can cook some good red beans and rice too, and some gumbo and all that. So
Straight up Louisiana, right
yeah,
there.
that's my
That's
girl.
it. You pick LSU. What other schools had you considered? You started all but one game in your career at LSU. Our fans don't play. They in books like, let me see. They know it.
Take a look.
Still holds the steals records. Talk a little bit about that college career. Did you get to a Final Four during your time, your playing career?
No, no, you pick LSU. I was fortunate. I had a lot of schools that came after me. And sometimes when you're younger, you think the grass is greener elsewhere, right? So I'm going to go away. And then, so we're going to walk in my living room, and it was a feel, the basketball was the same everywhere else, but it was just a feel. And it was so different and from everyone else. And not that it was a knock on anyone else, but you can't fake what you feel, right?
Yeah.
And it also was the opportunity to go somewhere and help something. There were some places that I was looking at that they're really, really good. And I just would have been in another one, but I did not get to a Final Four. We were playing really well when I think it was 91, my senior year. And this is funny. It was in New Orleans, but our arena had Sesame Street scheduled. So we worked all year and got a high seed, and we had to travel. So
Oh,
Big Bird came into play. And look, we took a big L. Let me think about that now. We're
Wow.
talking about
it's Big
92.
Bird's fault.
I'm
Oh,
like,
that's good stuff.
so
Where are you? We got Spoon, Teaspoon, obviously another Louisiana legend.
right.
Ruthie Bolton, and of course our very own Penny Toller sitting right here. Did you play against any of them in college? And what are your thoughts? And be honest.
No. I missed Spoon, but I
Okay.
actually visited Louisiana Tech. There, Ruthie was, Ruthie and Mayola and Carolyn Jones and everybody else that was there. Penny
Yeah.
won't remember this, but Long Beach, you guys were ranked number 2.
And we played you guys and lost in
So
Louisiana.
I don't know.
I
We
can't
beat.
remember. I think we lost there.
I don't know about that, but I just remember they were like this fast paced team. We're in the SEC. We're a little bit slower pace. And I just remember y'all were just rocking and rolling. I was like, I was a freshman, so I was intimidated in that regard. But I remember that. So that's the only year, right? I think that's the only time I played against Penny.
Yeah, I got a question for you. And
Mhm.
speaking of Louisiana, because I thought, which I'm sure Sue Gundner was one of your greatest mentors, with you being right there with her,
Yeah.
who I thought she was an incredible coach. And with I think you were the first inflation and how you said players that come in there that help her build that program. Talk about a little bit because you hear about your Pat Summits, your Kay Yao, but Sue Gunther, for anybody who knew, she was a great coach. Speak a little bit about her because I mean she was a phenomenal coach.
Yes, she
She
was.
was, and Pat was her assistant coach when we
Wow,
right
see, I didn't know that.
Wow. I
when we
didn't know that.
boycotted the Olympics. So she was the head Olympic coach in '80. It was in Moscow. we boycotted. So, and I only reference that because that's the people that I got to be around, because that was Coach Gunner's people, Jody Conrad, Coach Stringer, Pat, all those people. And it was like, I'm sitting here like, man, this is like, I'm being punked because this is so great. And they were just like, so when people are telling these stories about them, it's true. Like they were people first, and they were parental, and they were coaches, and they were tough on you and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, they pushed you beyond measure. And it wasn't always with an iron fist, like people thought in the old days, right?
Mm.
And so I was fortunate to be around that, and I'll never forget it.
I see you got to LSU. This is from Tanya in 1987. Did you ever get to see the legendary Joyce Walker play at LSU and talk about how good she was to these youngins? Because we got a lot of youngins.
Listen,
Shout out to my man
crazy.
Philip. He's a youngin. Youngins watch this show.
I wish I was closer to Joyce, because don't misunderstand me. Now, she's in Seattle. She was at Garfield High School. Even when I would come here with other teams, she would come to games. But it was because she was a legend, and it was respect, and I wanted to get to know her. And she was doing some great things in the city in Seattle, and it's awesome because it's nice hearing other people in this part of the country talk about Joyce, because even though she's not from Louisiana, you think she's a Southern girl, right? And but I didn't have the opportunity to see her play a whole lot. But in my mind, she put up so many points in the way she did it against any and everybody. Yeah, she's definitely second to none.
And another big question now that we're speaking of players in, Louisiana, you done coached a great one that's about to wrap up her career. Let's talk about Miss Sylvia Fowles, who you don't
Yes,
coach
that's it.
in LSU, Russia, and in Chicago. What's your thought on Sylvia and her retiring after this year? What you think about that?
It's crazy. You know how someone play like 12, 13 years, you see a decline in some aspect of their game. And you look
Yeah.
at Phil, who's 6'5", she's fast, she's quick, she's powerful, and there's no decline. Like, we played them for our season opener, and of course, we wanted to double team her, but I'm like, shit, we can't double team her if she's underneath the basket, because she's so powerful and strong, right? And then she comes off the court and she's this amazing human being. But yeah, I mean, that's the part that I wish and I think later in her career, the rest of the world gotten to know uh, that Sylvia, that's just an amazing human being. And I really just enjoyed watching her grow in other areas and put her hand in things that's meaningful to her. It is not always something that she publicizes, but she's always had that giving of herself, her time, and her money. And that to me is legendary. So I was telling you guys earlier that we opened up with her, and then we closed the season with Minnesota. And I told Noel, I said, I don't need Sylvia to drop a 50 piece on us on her way out. Like who scheduled this? But no, I love Sylvia Fowles. I mean, find me somebody that doesn't, and I wouldn't believe it.
You know what? We're talking about great players. Before I forget, because I got all my little notes here. One of the fastest players to break a 3,000, Brianna Stewart, just knocked that out. I think she's the second fastest now. Still don't know. I'll put that out to all of our fans. Who knows? Deladon got there the fastest. Oh, you were supposed to let the fans see it.
Too bad.
Deladon comes in, but it's not an easy feat to knock down 3,000 points and to do it as quickly as Brianna Stewart has done it. Diana Taurasi, I think, is and Simone Augustus, actually. Only other two that really have gotten there that quickly. A little thought about that.
Yeah, Stewie is, she's that hybrid player we talk about all the time. And, it may be new to outsiders, but she's always been that player. And what has been amazing, no, I shouldn't say amazing. I should have expected it, but just watching her operate in this space, whether it's training camp, whether it's an off day, whether we're on the bus, whether she's got Ruby with us and we're somewhere having coffee or whatever, it's just the sincerity and love that she has for the process. Because everybody love the game, right? We all balling on game night, right? but it's her process, and she just goes about it in this quiet way. But on the court, I guess I I shouldn't say this because they're gonna probably see it, but sometimes when people are so good, you don't appreciate the other aspects of play. Like we're not running plays for her. The ball will find her, and that's more about her than us because she knows, when to get to the dunker, when to get to the break, when to lift, when to dive, and that's the part when we start watching the game more. That's what's so special about her because you would think someone that has so much offensive powerhouse that she would just want to be jacking all the time, but sometimes not even taking the most shots on the team. So yeah, it's been a treat. It's been a treat having her. On the roster and watching her elevate everyone else.
Now you know my question, what everybody wants to hear, and it's in the middle. But my question is, and I gave you a minute to think about it. They know what I'm coming with. Who's the greatest player you ever coached? Now, knowing you done coach Simone, you can give me your top five. Okay, you can give me your top five.
Top five.
Not overall. This is the players you coach. Simone, Sylvia, Lauren, Cappy, Candace Dupree. Let me see who else I got in. Courtney Vandersloot, Sue Bird, Tamika Johnson. The list goes on and on. Elena Deladon. That
you probably be the only person that's on here that will say who are the greatest. You could actually name a top five just from players you have personally be in contact with, have coached.
I mean, you done coach so many Hall of Famers now. I want to hear your top
I'm
five.
lucky, man. I'm lucky. Look, still, and some of it is about longevity too. Like Simone. I mean, my point guards are my point guards with Flutie and Sue. It's just because it's so hard, and it's so thankful.
Remember, you got Lauren Jackson too.
I'm I got Lauren and Tarasi in there too. So,
top
five.
Wait, no, can we have a man in here?
I heard Tarasi, I heard Lauren, I heard Sue.
Oh, a whole bunch of them.
Sylvia, Simone,
Sylvia, Simone, that's five already.
I want 10. I want Tina Thompson.
She wants 10.
I told Tina in Russia for a couple of years.
Oh, in Russia? Okay,
Tina was actually the person that made the phone call for me to go to Russia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Never knew that.
But still, we're not letting you go. What's your five?
She named five. She wants five more.
No, name them clean though, because she was kind of going back and forth between a couple.
Sylvia,
okay.
Simone.
What about Maya Moore?
I didn't coach Maya.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I did not.
You got off the hook.
Okay, Sylvia, Simone, Sue, Slutie, and Tarasi.
You said who's that?
Sue, Tarasi, Sil, and Moan.
Okay, you leaving Lauren off of there?
For Sylvia, I'm gonna have to.
You leaving? I didn't say my position now. I said you leaving Tarasi off there.
You gave me 5.
I know. I just wanted to hear because you done coach some great players. That's all. I'm
lucky. I'm lucky.
You done coach some really extraordinary players.
I'm blessed.
And you coached overseas. So here's we don't often talk about overseas play. So this is a new element coming in here a little bit, just giving us what would be let me say, how did you communicate with your bosses? That's actually a very, very good question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the overseas versus I got better abroad as a coach just because of the style of play and how they play without the ball in their hands. They didn't want to do a scout report or watch video, but we worked on offense a lot. And I think even from a young age, those players, LA drafted one. What's her name?
Maria Vadiva.
Yeah, Vadiva. And
she was 18 years old.
She was like 12 years old, and I was over there. And the thing about it is, even as a post player, they're working on their perimeter skills, and it's without fail. Ira Osipova was 6'5". She was probably better than some of the point guards that we had. So I enjoyed how they let everybody do everything, and they became so much more skilled at different aspects of play. And that helped me, ahead of time, because like when I drafted Deladon, like a stretch 4 wasn't a big thing here, right? Mm-hmm. And now we have a stretch 5. I mean, Lauren was the original stretch 5.
Yeah.
So it helped the game kind of evolve. And I remember, I used to go to Popovich's practices and training camps, and he would always talk about, how they played the game. It always was a nice mix. But the communication part was, I didn't take an interpreter. I told him I didn't want one because it forced me to, you know, learn how to speak a little Russian. So it was
Give
cool.
us some.
Yep.
Yeah. Nah. Like, and I didn't know a lot, but like if, like I might say when we're done, I might say "Zdravsta, тренировки 10:30." So that means tomorrow practice is at 10:30. But just and if you think about it, like they would always like
You said tomorrow practice at 10:30.
yeah, and that was just 4 words, but they said you Americans, you say too many words. We'll say what time you waking up, and they'll say what time you stand up. Like they don't use all the extra words. So I basically just said Zaftra is tomorrow, Тренировки is practice, Desit 3 at 10:30. So just that engagement with them and learning certain things. Now, I can always say dingy because that's the money. We know how to say
Hey,
Dingy?
Loki, I wanted to help you out because when he said communicate with your bosses, because playing overseas 10 years myself, the only thing your bosses want to know is win the game,
win the game.
win the game, win the game. That's the only thing. That's the only communication they know. We won. Did you win?
Yeah. But I tell you what, though, Penny, I tell you what, yes, they know that part, but they also have this uniqueness about I learned how to make relax abroad. They say, you Americans, you work, and you die. You drive through for coffee. Like if you go to lunch or coffee with somebody, don't bring an iPad, don't bring a book. It's supposed to make relax. So I learned how to make relax.
How to make relax.
Make
I love it.
Yes. Learn how to make relax, So yeah, it was good for me abroad. I learned a lot about myself and I became a better coach.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Talk about Candace Parker, one of our legends. You coached against her in the league and overseas. What is her impact on women's basketball on and off the court? And then someone else had a question about what did you think about Chicago's big win last year?
Okay,
last season.
Last season. Candace, I look at Candace's career in different stages, and you come out on fire and you're hot and you come from Tennessee, you're supposed to win everything, right? And it's not that easy. And just staying the course with things. And of course, there's always watching superstar players mature is what I love to see, right? And that's not a negative. It's not a negative because you got to mature to the surroundings and how things are changing. And that part to me is what was intriguing watching that because her play on the court spoke for itself. I remember when players went through this thing where I can play all 5 positions, and I'm thinking, well, can you play all 5 of them good and on both sides of the ball, right? And she came back with the point forward, but I just coming back from injuries and leading a team and all that good stuff, but also going abroad. So it was nice to see that growth. We had a foundation. She knew what winning was about, right? From college, then she's with the Sparks and their management leadership there. So seeing her take that to Chicago, it was about timing, and in my opinion, is exactly what was needed because it wasn't a load that Candace later in her career could carry alone with the way the game has changed and being played. But she was that voice, right?
Yeah.
Like she gonna get on him and talk to him, and it was about timing. And so I was excited seeing that. I remember a reporter said to me, "Well, how do you compare? You took Chicago to the finals in 20 whatever year it was. What do you think?" And I said, "Man, Sloot had on diapers." I said, "This is Sloot's championship to lose." Because that team where we lost to was Penny, BG, Diana, Candace, Bonner. They were like 3rd and 4th year players. And I said that out of respect for the growth of a player like Sloot that stayed with the same franchise for so long. So I was happy to see that. And then Candace going home was good too.
Yeah.
On some past shows, Penny on some past shows always says evolution always happens. So could Cheryl Miller, Teresa Edwards, Katrina McClain play in today's game and still be dominant? Pokey can answer this too. I just feel the game's gotten better, but not till where they can still be GOATs. Not to the point that they would still be GOATs. Anyway, what do you think?
What do you think, Penny?
For me, these players here, they can play at any time. 18 before BC and after BC. That's like before Christ and after Christ. These players that we're talking about, if you had television like you had now, these people will be in the stratosphere of superstars. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Your Katrina McClain, Teresa Edwards, like you said, Pokey, playing all 5 positions. Teresa could have played them all. You know, she was a modern day like player. You need at the point, she go play the point. Need on the side, play the side. The same with Cheryl, Katrina McClain. You know, another person I would throw in there that people never mention because you never seen her is Janice Lawrence. You know, you talk about the Candace Parkers, the Lisa Lesses, the side jumpers. These people didn't know, like you say, Lisa Ingram. You know what I'm saying? Your Tanya Pollards, Lisa Ingram. You know how, okay, people know Jennifer Grenham, they call her the grandmama. Now throw Lisa Ingram, same body type, but can shoot the 3 like no other. You know what I'm saying? Right. To answer your question for me, they could play in there and they would dominate. These were players that were ahead of their time. And don't get me wrong, even probably at 40, you got players in the league that wouldn't be better than these people right now. I mean, Teresa is just a killer. Yep. Teresa would have been the Black Mamba.
Yes. Sure. And you know, the skill set that they all possessed, it was just phenomenal. You know, they worked at their game and they loved the game. They had a passion. They weren't playing for sneakers, for accolades, for Facebook, for the, you know, social media. They played because they were driven, they were competitive, and they had such phenomenal skill sets that there was no denying that they would be great this era of time. So AC and before Christ, after Christ, whenever. They dominate, hands down.
Yeah, I agree. And when you think about it, they were ahead of their time for where the game was. So their game had to shrink to fit the mold, right? So those like he picked the wrong ones to compare because those players are exactly what we're getting to right now. With that position in those players. So I agree. They were phenomenal.
And it's a shame too, because I think Cheryl never played. As a matter of fact, who is it? Cheryl, Teresa, I don't believe Teresa played overseas too. I can't remember, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you wanted to see an Olympics, before they had the WNBA, all you had to do was come overseas. Everybody who was somebody was balling against each other. You know, some of the best, like Lynette, you never really got a chance to see her at her best. You know what I'm saying? And then there was a point guard that nobody talks about. I was actually amazed. It was my rookie year at San Diego State. Remember Eun Jung Lee? And she might have been way ahead of your time. She was the only point guard. I think she was Korean or one of those. The only point guard I ever seen to leave her feet early and get away with it. The way she passed and moved her body, you know. And I mean, these and another player that people didn't know about because she got hurt in college. I mean, like I say, you had Tina Hutchinson, who we had on here. And then there's a forward that nobody talks about. You got to go way back, but and I'm aging myself, but she's younger than me actually. And that's Shauna Perry. Shauna Perry was like legit than a $silver bill, you know what I'm saying? Remember, and Katrina Body, I always say Katrina Body would be the equivalent of a, you know, I hate to compare male and females, but I'm just giving you an example of what she was more like. She was more like, you know, David Robinson, a skilled surgeon, you know, that body and power and stuff. I mean, these were players that, you know, then you throw in your Medina Dixon. You know what I'm saying? The people say, these were extraordinary players, and you're seeing these players now because they were on TV. But all these players I'm naming, they all could play all the positions.
Yes.
Wow. I'm going to be daring here. This is not an easy question that I'm moving into just because it deals with one of the people we've had on our show. But there has been news about Cynthia Cooper and the whole piece on abusive behavior. Yep, I know she's a friend of y'all's, but it's big news in women's hoops. How hard is this? How often does this happen? I mean, we had a whole show about what happened at my alma mater at Syracuse and Quentin Hillsman. And it just seems to be something that's coming up over and over and over again. Thoughts on why?
I mean, is it who's saying that she's been abusive? Is it, a player that's not playing? Is it, what is the situation? Is it fake news? Is it made up? Like, what grounds are we talking? I heard it, but I didn't really research to see who was actively involved and who was making the statement.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I tend to be a skimmer because of all of the things that are on my plate day in and day out. But yeah, this is obviously made news. And one of the reasons that I asked is because, again, with the transfer portal and everything else that's happening in the college game, I know that we talk about the WNBA a lot, but how much does that impact when you have all of this unsettling chaos that's happening on the college level? How much does that change what will happen as they move into the next level? Thoughts on that?
I think that kids nowadays are super sensitive. And you can yell at you have to know who you can yell at, who you have to talk to nice and cordial and be like, okay, it's okay. But you can have abusive language in terms of how you say something to someone, and they can take it like, oh my God, she yelled at me, and they just aren't used to it. But it's instruction, and they can take it out of context. Like, you can say something simple that's always said and then have it repeated by someone else. They put their thoughts on it. And it's like, what are you talking about? All I told her was to get the hell up on the freaking line and run the And they're like, oh, she cursed. Kids are sensitive, and everybody got to fight. Everybody's got, oh, I have rights and you can't yell at me. Just like you can't spank your kids. You get locked up. I'll hit mine with a telephone and keep it moving. But I'm just saying, I think it's just too many things going on, where the power is now given to players. So a coach in a certain situation is if everybody groups up, oh, let's get rid of her and say XYZ, it's a problem.
Yeah, I saw the headline, and I'll admit it was right before our season opener, in that regard. But I think sometimes it gets blurred because I don't think transfer portal comes into this. Listen, Dawn is the most amazing coach and won championships. Hell, she got players leaving. So right. Let's keep that real. And if things are documented, it's separate things. If things are documented, and I'm not pleading ignorant, I'll read into all of it afterwards. I did see a headline, and if something's out of context, that's unfortunate. If there was abusive language or whatever, we all have to be sensitive to that. And look, I just think it's totally separate things in terms of kids wanting to leave. Someone leave because they're not playing enough. Someone leave because they can get the cost of attendance at a school that's a little bit more, or NIL deal. So to lump that all in, I think is unfortunate. And if there was some abusive stuff going on, and my heart goes out to those players, or anyone else. But also, we're on the outside looking in too, and that's the other part. So
yeah, what's abusive? Yeah. That's the key word.
Well, it is, and it's interesting because a lot of what I do is in conflict resolution, and it's what you're seeing on the court in terms of generations. This is a great comment here about it's not the same way. We don't communicate the same way. The younger generation now does not communicate. Yes, there's been a whole lot about the entitled principle. But I've always been on, and part of what I do is work with coaches too, of you're still going to have to meet them where they are, right? At some point, the coaches, like we're the old heads now, whether we want to admit it or not. Like we're like, when we were younger, it was like, oh, our parents don't understand us. They call us hippies and they don't know what an afro is and this, that, and the other. And we had all this problem and they didn't see it. So there was this huge generation gap. And I do believe, I don't just believe, I know from working on that circuit that there is a disconnect in the way that we communicate. I always say the values that you're trying to teach, don't change that. I love old school values. The way that you're communicating it,
exactly,
you've got to learn. We don't even say the same word. You can't walk down the street and be like, yo, you jive turkey. We don't even use that anymore. Like the way you communicate has to change.
I never use that.
Yeah,
Jive.
you know what I mean? I mean,
I agree.
We haven't done a good job of
100%, 100%
communicating.
I agree. And just because way back in the day doesn't always equate to, antiquated ways and negative ways. I never had that. So the thing is, we're the leadership of it all. So we need to control that part of it, and I say this all the time because I remember I had this conversation with Dawn just in terms of how she's had to change, and she wasn't abusive at all, providing a great opportunity, but being more inclusive and having Zoom sessions with parents. And that's where we are. So that's where we need to be. And
that's extra work though. That's, as a coach, you just want to coach. Your kid comes to, acquire certain skill sets and you're supposed to teach them things. Now you get involved with the parents. Like I said, I just think kids are entitled. They're sensitive. When stuff's not going their way, they're going to run and try and get you fired or get you, written up. And so I don't know the story, what happened with Cynthia, but I just think that you have to understand the culture of kids that we're dealing with and young adults, not even kids, young adults. There's some adults that are just off the chain. It's like, really?
Yeah. What we have
and that
here
person, Xavier, is exactly right. Before I say my next comment, Xavier, I love you, man. You be having some great comments. I be reading them, even though we don't always put them up. But Xavier, I agree with what we're about to say. But at the same time, I want to say this. Times are different and things have changed. But I'm gonna tell you something. It's not always that and I'm not talking about Cynthia now. I'm not talking about Cynthia. Because I read that. I don't know enough about it. I do hope that Cheryl gets a shot in the WNBA. Cynthia had a shot. They come back. I just think it's a difference when you're kind of coaching in the WNBA a little bit. Obviously, college is a little different because you're dealing with a different age group and down. But I also want to say, too, to some of these coaches out here sometimes, coaches can get a bad rap, too. So, everybody's always saying, like I said, I'm not talking about the Cynthia situation. I'm just talking about in general. Because in college, it's super, super tough to be a college coach now. Because 1 foot to the left and you're done. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And that's not always fair because I'm telling you, I done seen a lot of college kids that, they're not playing. They go to the athletic director, And at what point, and I'm not knocking any kid because if that's it, that's it. But at what point, when you hire a coach, do you really investigate it and get to the truth of it? I'm not talking about Cynthia, I'm just talking about in general. Like, because when I was a GM, I would hear a lot of stuff about people, and I don't know, but I thought it was a shame what happened to Sylvia Hatcher. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But from what I knew of her, who done coached 1 million people, then 1 million Black players, and all of a sudden was called a racist. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I'm saying the difference between back then and now. You got social media, and when people get mad, they just set out to ruin you. Yeah. I know from my own experience that and I can talk about this because it's me. It's like, okay, taking words out of context, but what if I was a GM? What if I spilled everything I know about the Los Angeles Sparks or what my players ever said to me? You probably would be flabbergasted. But when my players are talking, it's not just for me or my players or anybody. Yeah, we all need to be better or something. But when they're speaking, I take what they're saying. Sometimes you have to take what they're saying and not how they're saying it. And that does come into effect because if you seriously think that I've done just coach Bobby dogs, you're out your mind. And some of the players that you think probably were Bobby dogs, I can tell you they weren't. You know what I'm saying? So this is where I say everybody's always like, and I'm not talking about Cynthia, I'm just talking about in general. I'm talking about the college level. And like I said, what happened to Sylvia Hatcher, I thought was a joke. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, right? But I was like, wow. So now all of a sudden, all these coaches, nobody wants to stick up for them. And Rita, what you said is right. Don't get me wrong, just because someone says something, because sometimes some of the stuff they saying is exaggerated. But people don't want to say that because people are afraid to be on the other side of the stick. Right. Anybody that know me, they know I'm brutally honest. And there's Penny Toll right there in effect, because I'm saying, hey, There's two sides to every story in the middle, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Okay.
All right, there it is. I think the saddest thing that comes out of all of this is Samuel is still using Jive Turkey. I mean, when you moving on. Good questions, folks. Good questions, and we do have to. We definitely need to investigate a little more on that. This question is not going away, Pokey. So you're going to have to answer it. Top 5 players that never played in the WNBA, but I'll give you some grace.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Or I'll give you grace since you wanted 10. You were greedy before. So if you want 10, then give me 5 in the WNBA.
No, never played. I'm going to need some help on that one, too. Oh, my God.
We've already been talking about 2 of them.
Yeah. But we talked about a lot of them. Do you remember Angela Turner at Louisiana Tech? AT? You remember AT?
No, I don't remember her.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, Teresa Edwards, Katrina McClain.
Well, Teresa played in the W.
Okay. Yes, she did. Shortly.
It was very short-lived.
Oh my God. Well,
Tina Hutchison.
Yeah, I'm thinking of people because Shauna's from
current. Yeah, you're current. You're right.
From Brookhaven, Mississippi. Never played. Help me out, Penny, on this. Help me out.
Well, I would say we know we got who? Katrina. We got Cheryl.
We can name those. Okay. Those are the givens. I'm trying to think back to.
Trying to think of something more recent.
Okay, more recent.
Well, if it's recent they ain't played, it's because they weren't good, Rita.
Somebody cut her mic.
I didn't know they weren't good.
There you go.
Ingram. I mean, people never seen her play.
Who?
Lisa Ingram.
Oh yeah.
Northeast Louisiana.
You mentioned Medina Dixon already, right?
Medina Dixon. Holly Perry. Take your pick. You know who else? And it was she, the Louisiana Tech. But I know she didn't go overseas, and she always remember Nora Lewis played at Louisiana Tech.
Nora Lewis.
Did somebody say Cheryl already?
Yeah, Cheryl, Katrina,
Teresa.
Like I said, Lisa Ingram. LaTanya Pollard never played. Lynette Wood caught it at the end.
What about Sandra Hodge? Remember Sandra Hodge?
Come on. Yeah, I remember Sandra Hodge.
Yeah.
I remember Sandra Hodge.
Yes.
All right.
Mayola never played either. Just to say one of Ruth's sisters, because all of them, played basketball.
Oh, Delta said, yeah. What's one
or two things you'd love to see in the WNBA to make it grow?
I think Valerie played in the ABL, but didn't play in the WNBA. Valerie Steele.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Valerie Steele, yeah.
What's 1 or 2 things you'll see in the WNBA? Oh, man. Some dollar bills dropping from the sky. Television contract.
Water daily.
To the players. In all seriousness, we want to expand, and I know it's a process thing. We were talking about this as a staff, even if there were 2 players available per team until we get to that point, be it a practice player plus an injured reserve player where they know your system and they're in there. And it's because with women's basketball, it's we're pros, but we have that grassroots connection to everything we touch. That's the woman in us, right? It's we're connected to our AAU, our high school, our college, and that's where we can grow if we weren't on just 5.5 months and then disappeared. I wish there was more marketing dollars for several players in different markets. And it doesn't always have to be the elite of the elite, which that's great too, right? Because we're just so much relatable. So all of that, I guess I just want money for players to, be promoted and have some more opportunities.
We have not mentioned the great Lisa Leslie and her legacy. She could be the WNBA GOAT. Sometimes she's overlooked. Do you agree with Tanya?
I don't think she's, maybe because we hadn't talked about it today. She's just a given. I mean, she's just a given. We're talking about Lauren. I didn't get to coach her. That's why I wasn't talking about her, but watching she and Lauren mix it up and pull ponytails and all that good stuff. Yeah. I mean, Lisa was way ahead of her time. She was great. She was athletic. She has some dog in her. You know, people
And
around
was a true professional. And was a true professional, like always on time, team concept. The thing is, I always said about Lisa was when people ask me, Penny, how's Lisa? You know, people have their expectations or whatever, or how they thought she was. Lisa practiced hard. She was one of the hardest working Sparks players to ever don that uniform.
All right. Here's one more question. We never get to tackle kind of the X's and O's of things. So here's a question about how do you put a coaching plan together? What drills are essential? Do you shape your play back on your players' talents, etc.?
Yeah, you know, we all have a little nuanced ways of doing it. The WNBA is a little bit different from everything else because you usually have about 8 practices and you're playing a game.
Yeah.
So it's moving. The train is moving, you know, as Noelle would always say, because she's a brilliant basketball mind. Oh my God, lucky pokey. But yeah, we put the plan together, and for at this level, it's more about finding those bursts that mimic a game, because we're not going to be in the gym 2.5 hours, right? You know, we try to mimic the game, and just it's always going to be the action shooting. You know, we don't do meaningless shooting drills. There's always going to be a defensive concept involved, not just your basic stuff, but just where trends in the game are going. You know, years ago it was icing, now people are veering, now they're ice switching. So all of those things that keeps you ahead of the curve, that you can still use some possessions, and of course you always shape it to your players, and part of that is choosing those players that fit a system that's going to go into some success. We know the game is pace in a lot of space right now. No, not many traditional fives like Sylvia. So I think that's where the game is moving. And I mentioned Noelle because someone asked about her, and you know, she's very intentional about how she wants to play, and it becomes very hard to guard. And you have to be a very skilled player. So yeah, it's basic. Look, after it's all said and done, it's going to come back down to jump stop, land on two, shot fake. Seriously, look, we're talking about all this stuff. You'll guard all these actions. Man, they're setting the DHO, rip screen, da 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 da. You guard all that, then they got 7 seconds left on the clock, right? Now it's KYP, know your personnel. She's going right, left, middle. So it comes back to the basics. Do I have nail help? So you can get all those nuanced things in about 30%, but then it circles back to the basics, in my opinion.
So do you find that chemistry is the most important thing? Because you can have a great player, but she's disruptive to the system that you're trying to run as a coach. Like, how do you deal with someone that you know is, say, one of your core players, but they're a problem? They cause problems wherever they go, or as a part of the team. How do you really deal with someone that has, you know, they're kind of just into them and it's about them and what they want to do?
Right. Yeah, there's different categories of problems. Like I can not like you and I can play you. Right?
I mean, for real.
That's just facts. But it comes down to the chemistry and the communication part of it, and also not expecting every person to be the same way. Like sometimes years ago we had this category of how they all need to have this certain checklist, and they're all not like that. Right. Some people like to, you know, they zen. Some people jumping off the roof, right? Those little things, but understand that. But to your point, if there's a problem, then you evaluate it, because what I've learned is that you don't want to spend all of your time and energy on 33% of the people when you forget, you know, that's what we do. We spend our time on the 33% and forget about those that's doing well. And so that's kind of where I am with that. And you address it. If it's diminishing returns, then it shouldn't return.
I'm your star player. You told me to go set a pick, turn, catch the ball, pass it out to the guard for a jump shot. I'll turn around and I'll take the shot. I'm good.
Do you have an NBA GOAT and a WNBA GOAT?
NBA GOAT. I'm Kobe for life. I love Kobe. Loved Kobe. Love Kobe. I don't know. WNBA. Y'all are killing me with this.
Yeah, hey, we kill them every week. It's not us, it's our fans.
I know. Listen, for me, And then I know this is personal, but Sylvia and
Mhm.
because people don't talk about, she started playing basketball late. Like she was in the ninth
Mhm.
grade. And
Mhm.
and and then when she played, she was always told to, be nice, and she was 6'4", and so she would always shrink herself, and then to watch her overcome that, own that, but still not lose that part of herself in real life is the beautiful story to me. On top of the gold medals and the championships and everything else, so just the totality of her existence makes her one of the all-time best for me because of the position, and it's hard to do.
Yeah.
You don't get love at that true power post position.
I
Mhm.
got a question for you, Pokey,
Yes,
but
sir.
I definitely want to give a shout out. I saw a question in there. Mike Hoops page, you're right. Brandy Reed was tough as a cat. Unfortunately, she had some mental health issues, and that's what took her out the league. Pokey, I was going to say this back on this topic that we was on right now, but I did just want to address Mike's question. Um, how do you think the league is going to do when we have Big Sib going out now? This might be the curtain call for Sue. I know Diana, man, I wish, I'm praying for BG. We didn't bring that up, how all
Yeah, we
12
still didn't
teams,
talk about it.
how
Yeah.
all 12 teams, and I think it was awesome for the league to have all 12 teams to put, BG and number 42 on the floor to make sure she stays front and center in all our minds
Right.
that, we need to get her home. And oh my God, I was waiting to see, BG and Tina, Charles and Diana. And now, my God, that team is going to be scary. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Right.
But how do you think the league is going to do? Because the people that I'm about to name now have been tremendous and awesome ambassadors to this league. And that's Sylvia, Sue, Diana, as the curtain is about to close on all these careers.
Right. Right.
What do I think that's going to be hard to duplicate it in the league, but obviously somebody stands up. But what do you think the league is? How you think that's going to feel when those players leave? And then Candace is right behind them almost.
True.
You
True.
know?
I think that's a really good point. I think because of something, that we talked about, this generation that is so conscientious about social media and they're on top of everything. And I got to state this correctly so I don't get in trouble. Sometimes it's, some of these elite players that were not in that era, you don't feel like you know them outside of when they're hooping, right? It's just
Mhm.
as of late. So I think what can happen is promoting some of these players that they hadn't had a chance to get a gold medal because they can't make a damn team, number one, but it's still
Mhm.
valuable, and
Yeah.
just have more of them because it's the engagement for us. And look, I know we got to win games and they're going to be talented, but that's to close the gap because these players are willing and able. They want to come back over and they want to do some of those things. I mean, I can remember being in Russia and it was hard getting Sue and Dita and to fly over from Russia for 2 days just for NBA All Star to get us on the map. So that's the kind of stuff they did. So I think it's kind of sets the table for this next generation who may not have the gold medals and championships to kind of carry it on. We get more players, more teams in the league, and we can close that gap. But they're going to be missed because their personality is so big, their impact is so big. It's going to be a little bit of a pause and a gasp.
And I also want to throw in Angel McCautry too, because the thing I love about all these players is that Angel McCautry now in Minnesota.
Mhm.
I was sad that she got hurt last year for Vegas, where I thought it was a really good fit for her. It's just about the culture and the professionalism that all those players bring. It's not like what we kind of touched on. It's not about my shoe deal or how much money I'm gonna get or my likeness.
Mhm.
And I know that because I played in the league when they said be somewhere, I didn't say how much I went,
Mhm.
because it was for the betterment of the league. Where I think on the flip side of that too is a lot of players got to understand when you're trying to get some of those sponsorship dollars that there are some things that you got to do for free too. You know what I'm saying? It can't always be about what's getting in my pocket because I always say at the end of the day, you're playing in something that's bigger than you, and that's the WNBA. And every female that I always felt like came behind me, even when I was a GM, I got to do a good job because I got to set the table for another player to go from player straight to GM, and especially a black one. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I say I wish these players really get it. And it's not about your likes. It's not about that. That the league is just not for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I need you. You know, like the phrase with Kennedy. Not ask what the league can do for you, but what can you do?
For the league.
You
What
know
can
what
you
I'm
do?
saying? And those players there, endless, tireless, they will always be about the league, you know, and they were great and could have been more selfish than what they, you know, what they ever were. And these are great players that were good personalities. And I just hope people really take heed to how they are and how they carry themselves and understand that they got big shoulders to fill when these players leave.
Yeah, they
And I think also it's about them passing the baton on to the next generation of great players by, you know, who they've been as far as publicly talking about the history, keeping things alive, and letting them know the responsibility that they have in being maybe a quote unquote superstar or just a very important part of any team. If you're on that team, you represent, you know, what's coming. So you have to be mindful of what you pour into the next generation.
Pokey, I named you the quickly as I was trying to come up with a title, the legend from Louisiana. But you've done some legendary things across the board. You've played, you've coached, and like our own Penny Toller, you've experienced what it's like to be a GM. Of those positions, which one do you relish the most? Is there anything in particular in this game of basketball that you could say you like or love better than all of the other?
Yeah, that's an easy one. The coaching aspect is, I mean, we're going to be measured by the wins and losses in the scoreboard, but it's the relational part of it that goes on for years. You know, like you just can't pass it up. You know, you can't trade it for anything. It doesn't matter if they're still on your team or not. At some point, you become a sister, mother, friend, someone that's need to beat them upside the head because don't buy another Louis Vuitton bag or some damn Jordan. So you buy a house. You know, I got to be that person sometimes too, because sometimes we assume that they're adults and they know these things. And so for me, it was a nice inflection point to help them. You know, like I give players used to give them this book called The Automatic Millionaire, right? And just those type things. And the thing is this, I said, listen, if you have a great career and played 12 years, when you're done, half your life is not even over. Right? Like think about it like that, and just so that other piece. Now I can't say that while, of course we're coaching to win games and stuff like that, but you can't compare that impact to anything else. So it's coaching for sure.
All right. Any other questions as we get ready to wrap? Penny, Rita, final thoughts. We've had a wonderful time getting all these questions in for Pokey. Any final questions?
Well, no, I just want to say my question is make sure you tell my girl Ebony I've been with the Sparks. I said, what up? Make sure, Noelle played for the Sparks. I was so happy and so proud of her, and Noelle is such a stand-up person. She's real quiet, but such a stand-up person. And I thought it was when I heard she, was bringing you on her staff, I was like, oh my God, that's an awesome move,
Yeah.
But sometimes people are threatened when you have good coaches behind them. That shows you what type of person she is. And then, I'm not going to say who this person is. Just make sure you tell Top Model I said hello.
I will let Top Model know.
For sure. Definitely. I just want to thank you, Pokey, for coming on and taking time, because I know your schedule has really been hectic with your practices and everything else. But, we go back like car seats from, Elegant Ladies days and all of that. But I genuinely thank you for just staying who you are, through all these years and the ups and downs and the wins, the losses, just, remaining who you are as a beautiful person. So thank you so much for
I appreciate
supporting
that.
us.
Thank you.
Hoopballer Scoop, actually, I'm going to kind of tip out on this. He was asking how hoop fans can keep the history of the women's game alive. The Teresas and Cheryl's and Louisa Harris's. The NBA does a great job of keeping the legends alive. We all know Bill Russell. We know Dr. J. We know Jordan, of course. But But then you go out to YouTube and there's no clips. There's nothing for the WNBA. There's nothing for our greats. Not a lot anyway. With that said, what y'all can do is y'all can continue to watch the show every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m.
That's right.
Let's start with that.
Yeah,
that part.
Because we do talk about the greats, you know.
Say what?
I said because we do talk about the greats. That's part of our mission is to expose people to those who were just here before the WNBA, and they were great players. You know, we just didn't have a television contract. So keep tuning in, keep discovering the new players.
Keep sending the information. Sometimes, you know, you all pop information even in this chat of things we haven't seen or heard, you know, or whatever that make us go, huh? So, you know, it takes a village. So keep doing that. But that said, on that note,
I just want to say one thing before you say, I know it's about
this whole speech I'm planned out.
Okay, my bad. I thought you were about to send us out. Okay.
I know, right?
I want you to say we true to this, new to this. It looked like you were about to say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I am going to do it.
I thought you were about to say we ain't new to this, true to this, and I was like, oh wait a minute, I just wanted to say that. My girl Erica, I'll admit you, I'm gonna tell you something. That girl, she pushes women's basketball. She pushed this show. You know, I follow on Instagram, and I'm gonna tell you something. If you guys want to know anything about basketball, follow this person, young lady. Yeah. Because Erica, I want to say you do a great job. Yeah. You know, I got to give you a serious shout out. Yeah. I just want to say thank you because it's people like her that we need in women's basketball to keep this thing going. Because no matter what it is, and I love her because she ambidextrous. She'll go to the men's league. She know everything that's happening in the women's league. She give it equal opportunity. And I just want to say, I ain't never met you, but I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I was going to not let this show close without me saying that to you. So I'm sorry, Bear.
I agree.
Shout out. Like that.
So I don't even know what I was going to say now. Right?
I'm sorry.
Big shout out to Erica. And we've got some great fans. Seriously, they keep us on our toes. They give us information. They challenge us to think about things. And even if we don't always agree, you know, it's good stuff. And that's what the game is about. You hear it all the time, you know, for the men. I have whole arguments in my living room sometimes of the men's game of he can't play, he couldn't check him, he can't wear his shoes, you know, whatever. And I think that we create that for women's basketball. So all of that said, what I wanted to say before I was so rudely interrupted, no, I was playing Penny, was Pokey, you bring that by coming on this show, you help keep that alive. You are a legend in your own right? And down the line, we'll be talking about you and all of the things that you have done and you have meant to women's basketball. So we thank you for being here to give us access and to give our fans access to what really happens. And again, overseas, you know, player, coach, GM, you've done it at all levels. And so we can't say enough for you sharing your wisdom tonight. So thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. I was upset it didn't work out the first time. And I said, man, if I don't come through this time, they may not ask me a third time. No, seriously, I love what you guys are doing. And the pieces that you put together and the different lenses that you guys see things through. That's like a team, right? You can't have everybody doing the same thing the same way. And so that's how I look at things. So thank you for thinking I can be a part of helping push the needle a little bit and have me back anytime, please.
All right.
You know what? We're going to take you up on that because when it comes to women's hoops, we're not new to this. We're true to this because we are certified unscripted. We'll see you guys next week. Facebook, YouTube. Wow.